Hey everyone, it's Wednesday, June 10, 2020. So you know what time it is. It's time for the 36th installment of the weekly catch-up podcast. My name is Carson Gibbons, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. B-Rad Colvin.
That'd be me.
What's going on, dude?
We got, took classes this week. I'm a little tired. Been
I saw
hanging out
that.
with friends, getting some sun.
Right on. You look good, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it. So
Rocking
do
the
you.
Patagonia in the studio.
Yeah,
Looking sun-kissed and ready to go.
Yeah, ready. You never know whenever you're about to go on a hike or something,
Okay, well, we're not about to.
Oh, okay.
Mentally, maybe.
Mental hike.
Are you ready to go on this mental hike with me?
Absolutely. Let's get it.
It's the weekly catch up with Carson and Brad. Here to talk about the week we done had. It could be sports, religion, politics. We keeping the tabs. You would think they work for Gucci, how they deep in they bag. Get your facts up. On Wednesday we'll be counting the stats up. So turn the volume up till it's maxed up. You know the drill. So tell a friend to relax up and chill. We back up. This is the weekly catch up.
Alrighty, a little bit of housekeeping to start us out. Before we get into this episode, time for corrections and revisions from last week. This is totally on me, B.
Okay.
So, forgive me, Shelly Belly. I know your Instagram handle is at Session6Salon, not Hair by Shelly XO. We totally tagged her old Instagram.
Oh.
So when I went to go verify this for the show notes last week, I was like, oh shoot, oh no.
Sorry, Shells.
I feel like the worst thing that you can do to a sponsor is shout out their wrong social media handles, like their CTA basically.
I feel like we give her a freebie this week then.
Yeah, so this
You know
one
what
is
I'm
brought to
saying?
you by Shelly Belly. On the house,
That's right.
follow at Session6Salon. Thanks for sponsoring last week's episode, and more fun stories about her in a little while.
All right.
How are you, man?
I'm good. I don't know exactly what we want to get into first.
Are you worried?
Sure. I'm always worried whenever I get in the booth with you.
The booth.
No, I started my master's classes this week, so that's probably the biggest news and stories that I'll be pulling from. I don't know if we just want to jump into that.
Yeah, man. I want to hear about that because I saw a screenshot of a bunch of you on Zoom.
Oh, yeah. So my friend Melissa Mencia.
Are y'all in grad school together?
Yeah.
Wait. Carol's sister?
Um,
Melissa Mencia.
I went to SWO with her. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Didn't she have an older sister, Carol?
It could be. I've never met her. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
That was like the older generation, like Michael Hossel's class, all of
Okay.
them.
there could be a relation. I'll ask her. But yeah, so her and I took education courses, back 6 years ago, and I know 6-7 other people in those classes. So it was pretty cool seeing some familiar faces and getting paired up in groups. I'm taking 3 classes this summer, and all of them are going to be at least 2 of the 3 are going to be having group projects, and so I get to hang out and catch up and kind of goof off with some of my old buddies. And
Is that how you describe it?
yeah.
Okay. Hey guys, want to goof around and go to grad school?
Yeah.
Want to do it all via Zoom?
Dude, Zoom is the way to do it because for one of my classes, we were going to have 15 quizzes, a midterm, and a final. Now it's been knocked down to 7 quizzes, no midterm. And our biggest project is a group project. Oh,
They're like, thanks for coming here, everybody.
Yeah, we're we just did not expect
Thanks
it.
for coming to our Zoom.
Dude, it's amazing.
This is not Ivy League Zoom, but it's our Zoom.
I was supposed to have 2 classes on Monday, and my second one was canceled because of prior engagements. I'm like, okay, this is a great way to start off the semester. So I had it today. We could finish an hour early.
Why are you bragging about this?
I'm not. It's less of a brag and more of just yeah, that's about right.
For what?
SWO.
Okay. Oh, so we can throw a little bit of shade, dude.
So
you put me in this lurch the last month. We're like,
okay, so
I can't
hear me
hate.
out. Hear me out.
Okay.
I'm setting you up.
Okay, thank you. And I'm a dunk the ball.
Yeah. Okay. Alley-oop, baby. dude, tell me why I was like ready to kind of go in on SWO today, and then they follow me on Twitter this morning.
Oh, perfect. I love it.
I'm like, ah,
I
man.
love it. I love it.
And to be real, like, I love those professors that I have, but like, it is super laxed.
I used to get called into the president's office back in my tenure at Southwestern because I would write long Facebook rants about them and I would tag them. Like I literally would tag
the
them.
amount of like assemblies that you would write about, or
I was so aggravated at all the bull that was preventing me from getting an education.
Yeah.
Like, anywho, that was next year is my 10-year college reunion.
Dang.
That I will not be attending.
Okay. I didn't think so.
I just don't think I've never been back.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work like that for me.
Well, we visited once.
Yeah. I mean, I've been back and around, obviously. Still have close family that lives there. And
but not like back to, I get you. I hear you.
I've never been to an official Southwestern function since graduation day.
Got it.
So.
Okay. Yeah, so back to the classes. One of the classes that I'm taking.
How long are these classes supposed to be?
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah. Technically, like, if COVID never happened, they'd be 8 hours long and we'd be in person, and they only be about 3 weeks, but we're stretching them out to 8 weeks. So.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 hours, meet twice a week for each class. I have no classes on Fridays. Yeah, one of them we were just like setting up a website with like links and adding extensions to our Chrome bar, and I don't know, it didn't feel.
I'm telling you, education is going to go out of business. Like, a lot of these colleges are not going to survive this.
Well,
because
and let me tell you,
this is bull.
In a way, it was important because we did have older teachers that were asking, like, whoa, like, how do you do that? Like, what's going on?
Right.
And me and some of my peers are just like, so I could have slept in. Or
the reality of the situation in America that you're faced with today is that unless you want to be an engineer or a doctor or something like that, YouTube and Google and open source tools and platforms are going to be the best educators for those that want to work at a rapid pace and are curious and in love with their search.
For sure.
Like, you can go, the best dev school to go to is probably Lambda School, in terms of like taking people off the street and turning them into like $210,000 a year Google engineers on a routine basis. Like, and they've really pioneered a remote learning type situation, but that's obviously very specialized. They teach a broad array of different CS stuff, coding, blah, blah, blah. But just this traditional college institutional way, when it's vanquished to Zoom and like the whole the colossal nature of the buildings and different professors' tenure and the different people you might encounter on campus, those different items that really are what lead to the markup, on education, they're not there to stand for themselves anymore. It's just like the strict instruction via, Zoom. And whenever you can almost fault the teachers because they're thinking, okay, the first day, let me introduce myself, give some background. We're going to set up some links and then we'll be done.
Dude.
Because they're planning it all out. And it's like, we could just do the first week today.
But even get this, so all of these students, all of my peers, we're taking all 3 classes together. And so whenever the teacher's like, all right, let's introduce ourselves. How did teaching go for you post-COVID this year? Like, we're having to answer those questions aloud to each other 3 times because all of our professors are like addressing the same thing and like asking us the same question. It's like they want to get to know us, but we've already heard this story, an hour ago and the day before.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It seems like the private school distinction that should be occurring here is more one-on-one time with the instructor. Yeah. Like, why didn't they do like a little, 15-minute interview for all the students in a one-on-one session and record it? That way they actually can build a connection and a relationship. Because here's the thing. Did I tell the black squares, not the Blackout Tuesday story, but did I tell you about my pipeline story?
I don't think so.
Well, because in business, people like on Zoom are very optional in terms of turning on their, audio half the time, much less their camera. And I'm always on full camera, hair done, collared shirt on, in my pod or in my home office, like, because I respect it. And like, if you see my face, it's going to go better. And so I have 75 deals in the pipeline where it's like, there's 75 black squares named Karen or Mindy or Jennifer or Shelly. Like, there's 75 of those.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if they want Microsoft Teams or the Slack integration or whether they're interested in the new product or whatever is happening.
Yeah, you can't put a face to...
I can't put a face to anything. Yeah. So I've looked up their LinkedIn. I created a note, I don't want to give away all my tactics here, but at the same time, I was telling my boss this the other day, and he was just breaking down laughing because I was like, I'm sorry, I have to write everything down because I can't remember who any of these people are because they're literally all named the same in HR, black squares.
Yeah.
So I think that the one-on-one time with your instructor could go a long way.
Sure.
In creating that relationship. But
yeah, I mean, I think the most exciting part, so 2 of my classes, I'm taking curriculum development, and then I'm also taking psychology of education. And with those classes, like, where I'm going to find the most value in these classes is really like on education theory and just finding new strategies to reach students that maybe I haven't been able to in the past, and like cater to them and provide different types of projects and assignments for, even a higher percentage of my class to grow and learn. So jokes aside, I am looking forward to those 2 classes and learning a bit more about that. The other one has to kind of do with leadership. It has less to do with like being in the classroom, and it's more like preparing you for like a principal role or stuff like that. And I'm a people person, so I don't typically
like day one, buy a short sleeve button down shirt.
Right. Yeah. Comb your hair.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, don't look disheveled.
Where's your part?
Yeah. So I'm going to try to get something out of that one, but I think I'll get less out of it. It has nothing to do with the professor, just kind of the stuff that we'll be going over.
So how many credit hours does these 3 2-hour classes represent?
Oh, I have it
like,
in my...
What contextually, how many of these installments are you going to have to do to get a master's degree?
So more or less, it's like 3 classes for the next 4 summers.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So not bad.
No.
But
and I
4
could
years, you could do it in 2 if you ramped it up.
I could, but then I would be paying for half of it. I'm doing this for free.
Oh, so the way that they, compensate it is like...
Yeah, and then if I get off track, let's say if I do this semester and then I join back in the following summer, well, I already took those classes that they were going to be providing, and so...
Well, Swami was so bad with like class offering. Like the fact that I graduated in 3 years from there with my credits that I transferred in with was a miracle because, half the classes you're just threading the needle because they're taught every other spring or something like that. But okay. And that makes sense because they also, as part of your added compensation and all of that, want you to be focused on your teaching job in the school year.
Yeah.
So they don't want to burden you.
Yeah, so I'm not really hating on it.
That makes more sense.
If I could like take some this next semester and then get more classes for free next summer, then I would. But I feel like since it's going to put me off track, then I'll probably just do it over the next 4 summers. So
right on.
Yeah.
So it's a master's of educational leadership?
Educational leadership. Yes, sir.
Okay. What is it? An MSA? It's an MBA.
I don't know what it's abbreviated as, to be honest.
I'm such white trash. Like I don't know much about post-grad education.
Dude, me neither. And I'm in it.
I'm like undergrad. Whenever you're having to fill out like an online form and specify education level, I'm always like, it's frustrating because undergrad is like halfway through now, and then it'll be like post-grad, master's, like PhD, lawyer, doctor. And I'm just like, oh, I'm just like middle of the pack here with this undergrad degree. Michael always tells me that I have an MBA from YC in terms of kind of like startup growth and different things like that. But, you know, I have a greater respect for MBAs and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
if you have an MBA, I'm going to mention it to people. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, when you're introducing a person, and you're like prefacing someone's arrival with someone that they should meet. Oh, he's this like MBA, whatever, you know, it's part of this narrative, so to speak. So anyway,
I got to show you this one picture I took a picture during one of our Zoom sessions for my buddy Devin. And this will kind of sum up like the confusion during one of these classes. And he just like, that was his face like the whole time.
Oh, is he in class with you?
Yeah.
I know him.
Yeah.
I know
he's a good guy.
Yeah. No, he's very nice. He's like best friends with Chloe for forever.
Oh yeah.
Heston's Chloe.
Yes.
So you're busy getting a master's degree in 4 years. I got ordained this week. Call me Pastor Carson, Brad.
Oh, who would have thought, man?
All I'm saying is come through, tell me your sins.
Yeah, exactly. Your favorite part would be the confessional.
I'd be like, yeah, then what happened? Oh, man. That took 5 minutes, baby.
5 minutes?
Yep.
Wow.
Like, it was like, you want to get ordained? I clicked yes. And the next screen was like, you're ordained. It was over.
Wow.
I was like, oh, I was expecting like a driver's
like
ed
a multiple
course,
choice.
Or like, you know, when you get a ticket and you have to go to defensive driving.
Yeah.
I was like, it's like, what? Should people be married forever? 1 month, 2 days? Like, I thought there was going to be a quiz. Nope. I just had to buy it.
Right.
Technically, they ordained me before a payment gateway of any kind.
That's insane.
But to actually marry, the reason I got ordained, in all sincerity, is to marry Michael and Shelley this fall. I'm the officiant at their wedding. And so I had to get, I thought I would have to do all this notice and blah, blah, blah. Nope, my commemorative pack is coming to me, which I think actually has pertinent, like, certification, like legal documents that it's kind of silly. Like, I'm ordained now in the spirit of everything, but I couldn't actually marry them unless I bought whatever they were getting, like sending to me. I don't know if I have a marriage license or I have like a proof of like I can do this and I can do it here. I think that's the bigger deal. The fact that I can do it in Texas. Yeah. So,
well, congrats, man.
Anyway, if anybody wants to get married, I'll do $500 a pop. I just have to be invited on the bachelor party, whether I know your husband or not.
I hate you, man.
But yeah, man, call me PC, Pastor Carson.
No way.
Hey, which is more likely, Pastor Carson or politically correct?
Pastor.
All right. I remember a cousin of mine he was going through seminary back in the day, and he posted this big stack of books, this picture of him on Facebook, and it was like, you know, obscure book like Daniel and prophecy and all of this. And I was just thinking, man, who is this helping? Like, you're not out there doing it. Like, I was like, what a luxurious society that we have where every need is taken, where some people can just like be like, hey, want to read mythical books all day and conjure on them? Like, in that moment, it just seems so funny to me.
Yeah.
I digress.
And look at you now.
Yeah. Now I'm a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Now I saw the light. You can too, Brad, for just $29 a month.
A month?
A month. Yes.
Am I paying you, or is that a...
Listen, the more you sow, the more you reap.
Okay.
So $29 a month. And yeah.
All right, Joel Osteen.
You know, I enjoy watching Joel sometimes.
I'm sure you do.
Like, I like... For sales,
I'm sure you
I like
love
to
his
watch
business model. Yeah.
I like to watch Boiler Room. I like to watch Joel Osteen.
Right.
I like to watch Wolf of Wall Street.
The people pounding on his door outside whenever you won't let them in.
He's been letting them in. Goodness gracious. I was about to say it's a private business, but I guess it's not. I mean, it is.
Yeah, he's certainly privatized it.
He's not for profit, man. That's the biggest scam, son.
Yeah.
He probably has to pay taxes on like his book sales and stuff and like media rights. Maybe. That's the crazy thing, is when you can be appointed CEO of like a not-for-profit coffer, where it's like, we're a not-for-profit. It's like Scientology. We're a not-for-profit entity. We're a religion. So we're
Yeah.
tax free. We're exempt from that. And so all of their Scientology owns more real estate than anybody.
Right.
You know, they have some like tens, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate.
Well,
in
yeah,
nice
their religion
locations.
is like pay to play, man. Like you got to level up, you know, order this and
I've heard interesting things about the way that they recruit you on, and that for a personality type like mine, where you're constantly trying to level up and like control your mind and learn more about your mind and all of this stuff. I hear that the initial Dianetics or whatever it's called, that I could be wrong about that. I've heard some interesting things about the way they intro you to that, where it starts as like these mental exercises or something. And I've been doing a lot of that, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, just because I've never been more pressed for time, and I've gotten to that age now where I'm scrutinizing the way I spend just every shred of time, and also starting to look at it not only from the lens of like risk, exposure, reward, gain, but also, okay, what goal am I working towards long term that this activity is going to support? Like, is this really worth it? And I've been deep into Sam Harris's meditation app, and also just trying to think about, I think I mentioned this last week, like I started reading his book. I started reading not the new, but Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules.
Okay.
And just realizing that a lot of the fantasies that I always foresaw as my future, you know, I wasn't working explicitly towards each of those goals. I just assumed that several of them would pop up. And I'm getting to this point now where, you know, it's like that whole argument, like, do you want kids? Do you not want kids? And there's a bunch of 30-year-olds out there that are like, I don't know, maybe not. Like, and I think that for me, I need to start looking at the relationship between like my immediate budget and what my real priorities are. Because I wouldn't carve off a dime for a kid right now. You know what I mean?
No.
So from that perspective, as a prudent anal white man, I need to reconcile intentions with goals. And so I've just been trying to spend more time in actual thought and life examination, which is, man, I feel like
scary.
I feel like for years there, I would not think about things, or I would keep my mind busy with other things where I just wanted some white noise where I didn't have to examine my own life in certain ways.
Right.
You know? And then time passes and revisionist history happens. And so I don't know. I've been thinking about buying the premium version of Sam Harris's app, because I only use the practice rounds, but I can tell that the guided meditations, I think that through his instruction, which I very much love and I appreciate it, like it really has helped me, you know, create a like I meditate at least 5 days a week. I need to do better about it. Some days I meditate twice, and I feel like certain days you have breakthroughs where you're like, oh, I get what's happening here. And like, what I've started to do is not try to think of anything. It's to notice the thought that you have. And so like, if you do something to me and I get angry at you, that's the narrative around it. But like, a feeling of anger passed through my mind as a thought, but thoughts are fleeting. And if that thought goes away, I'm not angry with you. It's not a perpetual state unless you continue to recreate a thought and live that thought over and over and expound upon that thought. And that, if you just recognize the thought, it's much easier to dispel it and make an objective decision about things. And I realize I've sabotaged certain things in my life. I've expelled certain things in my life by giving only the bad thoughts front row view in my mind, and how destructive that can be, and how much you need to really think about your goals and delay. Like, you can change your responses to the world, and everything that happens to you from a pleasure perspective, from a pain perspective, from your past, your future, your goals, your thoughts, all of that happens in between your ears. And we never work on that piece of our equipment, you know, like we're on the bench press, but we're not proactively looking after our minds. And I really think that successful people have nailed this aspect of their lives down, because I think that there's a significant increase in the efficacy of your time management when this is properly. Do you know anything about Calm app? Have you seen those LeBron James?
Oh, Calm?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. I used Calm for about a year.
So which part?
The sleeping
So
portion.
what is that?
A lot of times it'll just it'll either be like comforting sounds like rain or something like that, or just like a historical story that'll kind of lull you to sleep. Like just Matthew McConaughey does like a guest feature and it's like his voice like reading you to sleep.
Okay.
I'm like, all right.
I'm sure.
All right.
I'm sure there's a lot of girls on Calm that couldn't get to bed quite after that one.
Yeah, no, I was out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I have trouble sleeping whenever it's just like silent, and maybe that's also part of like my thoughts getting the best of me, and I try to drown them out. So now I just listen to podcasts whenever I go to sleep.
Yeah, me too. If it's completely pitch silent though, I'm with you. Like,
yeah, I don't like it.
If it goes extremely silent somewhere, do you just get that kind of like ringing in your ears?
Yes.
What is that?
I don't know, man.
I was talking to Heston one time.
Silence is deafening.
We were up in Platoro, Colorado, and we were like 50 miles from somebody, and it was just placid and quiet, and I just had this like ringing in my ears, almost like vibrations, and I was like, what is this, man? He was like, it's probably just your blood flowing through your vessels in your head and your ear canal and different things like that. Like you're probably hearing your own inner workings in a weird way, and it's like vibrating out of you. And I was like, that's disgusting. Like, turn on the music. Yeah. Do something. Can we turn on the AC? Yeah. Like, I always have AC, fans. Like,
it's like where
I need white noise.
Get the yin yang twins out here, man.
I guarantee you, the yin yang twins were never where we were. I guarantee you.
That's fair.
Yeah. We were actually talking about going back up there
at
some point, maybe this fall, because we've been told to submit our summer vacation time, and the main things that I know about are I've got 2 bachelor parties happening over a long weekend that I got to take off for. But, you know, other than that, I don't really have any vacations on the books. So, you know, now it's become evident that you can get flights and that people are back on them. And I feel like this whole news about the stock market and all that, like we had record stuff going on this week, like total bounce back,
but also, I mean, not just because of all the protests, but just, you know, also things opening back up. I believe there's been spikes in COVID, like, you know, people being diagnosed with COVID.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
you got something for me?
That's too bad. No, I mean, it's the first bullet point as always, COVID, but you know, I don't know.
You don't care.
I don't. Have I ever?
No.
You know, like, I'm sorry. You know.
All right.
I think the bigger story there is like, who you gonna trust? The WHO, like the World Health Organization, and now Dr. Fauci is like disputing them because they came out this week and they're like, all right, guys, so if you're asymptomatic, it turns out you can't really spread it. You're fine. And it turns out it doesn't really cling to surfaces like we thought it would. So, you know, it's just like a big walk back, and like, you know, people, meanwhile, suicides are up like, you know, 300% or something in this country, in certain counties, like certain pockets of people that got laid off. Like somebody was talking to a sheriff the other day, and they normally get 1 suicide a week or a month, and they're getting 5 a day right now.
Okay.
So, you know, I think that it's good that we're going back to work. I've been back at work. I'm already on like week 4 or 6. So I'm still among the only, I'll be honest, like a lot of people I'm pitching, a lot of people I'm meeting with, I'm seeing the migration back now, especially my clients in Atlanta. They've been back for a couple of weeks. My clients in like all of rural and middle America, they're back. Although I have a lot of like, I talk to a lot of different people in a lot of different industries, and it's fascinating to see how this has affected them, because a lot of them have adopted remote working tools, and they're in the market as a result of that. They need to create culture, maintain engagement with a digital first approach. Maybe they had like a poster board internally where like move your square over, your good recognition, and then we're going to provide them something much better that can scale and can also be displayed in their offices. All right, enough infomercial time. The point being that what was the point being? Oh, then I talked to my banking clients, that have bank branches, and they're like, well, the plexiglass came in yesterday, and so we've got the dividers, and we've literally got. I had one woman that told me she has a shift of people that will be at one location and another that will be at another location and then another in reserve, because if one person on a team goes down, they have all these regulations and
Right.
guidelines where they need to call in a totally separate team.
Yeah, so if one person in group one gets it, then group one is chilling and the other groups can continue working, is what you're saying? Or Got it.
So I think that, COVID is no longer interesting to me.
Sure.
I'm glad that we got the Colonial coming back this weekend. PGA Tour Golf tees off in Fort Worth, Texas tomorrow.
Yeah.
So everybody's going to be glued to Golf Channel. It's going to be incredible. Nobody's going to get to go out there, which is a shame. The worst thing that could happen, I saw this meme where it was like, this would be so 2020, and it showed Patrick Reed holding up the Colonial Cup.
Oh, geez.
Which, do you know about Patrick Reed?
Tell me.
He's just the notorious kind of cheater.
Okay. I think you've told a story about him before on here, yeah.
So golf fans will appreciate that. Otherwise, Google it, I guess, whatever. Yeah. Another interesting story that came out of both George Floyd and COVID. Did you hear about the CrossFit CEO?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
hot mess over there.
Right.
So he was really I just read about this today. So he was super vocal about COVID and pandemics and all of this stuff. And I think he thought that George Floyd was stealing the limelight or something. And he was, because he referred to COVID-19 as Floyd-19 or something like that. Because, somebody had written something about how racism was a pandemic in and of itself. And he was trying to bring the focus back to COVID. And so he said, he made a pun or something. And
so he says, he told gym owners in a private Zoom call, "We're not mourning for George Floyd. I don't think me or any of my staff are. Can you tell me why I should mourn for him? Other than that, it's the white thing to do. Other than that, give me another reason." Yeah. And then he stepped down as CEO. And he says, "On Saturday, I created a rift in the CrossFit community and unintentionally hurt many of its members. I cannot let my behavior stand in the way of HQ's or affiliates' missions. They are too important to jeopardize." So canceled.
Womp.
That's
goodbye.
That's a rightful cancel.
Boy, he combined COVID and Black Lives Matter. And
bro. Who is your demographic?
Dude, and this George Floyd stuff is kind of heated up. So I know that we were really hat in hand, somber, kind of meek last week about everything. And I think that was the proper attitude. And I'll preface everything that we say on this show with, he was murdered. It was wrong. We've got some more information that's come out. And it's not necessarily even related, but it is some revisions. He was not the most peaceful man ever.
No.
That was my bad. I had heard that and I repeated that. I didn't know about his extensive rap sheet, armed robbery, different things like that. Doesn't change anything. He was still murdered. He shouldn't have been.
Yep.
Did you check out the autopsy?
So there were two different autopsies done.
Yeah.
One by the city, and then the parents did a private one.
Yeah.
That I think came back as different.
Well, they both came back with cocaine, meth.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Fentanyl, caffeine, maybe a little bit of MJ. I don't know, but he was pretty hopped up at the moment. Again, that is irrelevant. I'm one of the biggest proponents of drug decriminalization and different things like that. Why are you laughing?
No.
Here's the big news that came out that I'm going to go ahead and predict this. This is not what I'm advocating. This is what I'm predicting. Get ready for potentially one conviction in this situation, which is Chauvin. Right. I think he'll get some version of manslaughter on up, hopefully murder too. He deserves it. However, what I've since learned is that he was the senior most police officer on that leg that day. And all three of those other boys,
newbies,
they were 4 days on the job.
Yeah.
at the time of this happening. Can you imagine? You've come out of police academy. You're with the big bad Chauvin. Like Chauvin will show you the ropes. Go out with him. And in the police, system, it's very much kind of a caste system in terms of if you're a cop that's been on a certain beat for 20 years, like that place like the back of your hand. And this newbie might be from the burbs or fresh out of some other market or something like that. And again, not arguing for the police here. I'm just saying, picture yourself, because 2 of these men were of color too, or they were at least minorities. They were not white men by any means.
No.
4 days on the job, each of them. So he had a gaggle, and part of this almost led me to think more about Chauvin's motivation, where he was not going to be demanded or talked down, de-escalated in that situation, because I think that there might have been a certain level of like, I'm going to show him the ropes. I'm a tough guy. Like these newbies out here, I'm not going to let this, I'm sure in his mind he's like this street criminal or something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let him talk me out of what I'm doing, or I'm not going to budge from whatever original behavior I was showing. I'm not rationalizing what he did or anything. I'm just saying I didn't know that these boys were 4 days on the job.
Yeah.
That I don't think that they're going to get convicted. I think that I've already seen footage from defense attorneys of theirs saying, hey, when you check out the body cam, from these guys, like leading up to this event, you're going to think maybe a little bit differently about this case. And I feel like even in the defense attorney's case, they were like, not to take away from the peaceful protests and everything that's happening right now, because again, George Floyd was murdered.
Well, and on top of that, the protests are no longer just about George Floyd. It's about the discrimination as a whole that has been going on for years and years and years. So I think George Floyd was the tipping point, but certainly not the only reason why these protests / riots are going on.
Yeah, this is definitely a straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
And
yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's he had his a funeral in Minneapolis, and then they took him down to Houston, where he's originally from. Yeah. And Al Sharpton did a big thing there, and I guess that Governor Abbott met with the family, and of course Police Chief Art Acevedo down in Houston. He is a total badass. Like he is so. Have you seen his interview?
No, I didn't.
Because he personally reached out and said our police department wants to transport the body and like give it a proper like funeral processional and all this different stuff. And he had this take on policing. Like he was eloquent, man. He is good. He is awesome. Really good.
I want to listen to it.
He's one of those police chiefs that's going to be. He's like a Chief Brown type, that. They're there for a moment that, is significant, and they have that calming effect about them and a way of looking at things that kind of pacifies both sides of the crowd.
Yeah. Cool.
So, but yeah, I would be a little bit more hardline. Like if you're looting today,
sure.
Then, did you see Killer Mike kind of walk back his?
No.
So,
and I loved his speech.
His speech was amazing, but he did make an appearance on Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO this weekend.
Okay.
And he said, I understand your anger. He said the day after you destroy the property, you got to mobilize, strategize, organize, but he said, he's like, personally, I'm a business owner. I own businesses. I own property. I own apartment complexes.
Right.
He's like, I've got insurance. I can't replace George Floyd. So he's like, destroy property. He on Real Time, and Bill even checked him on this. He's like, wait, so you are saying that, because Bill was coming down pretty hard on it.
Oh yeah.
And as most people are, most people, 95% of the country is like, George Floyd was murdered. You can't shoot, rob, and steal.
Right.
And we all just want some peace right now.
Correct.
And now it's just erupting in all. The media is, of course, inflaming everything. Like today, the lead into the news was like America in crisis. And I was like, goodness, do you have to do that? Like, yes, we mourn George Floyd, like certain markets, especially like Minneapolis and Houston, were extra cued into that. But, I got to think that 95% of Americans today got up, poured their coffee, did not have hatred in their hearts, were chilling, Like, things are okay.
Yeah.
We're not at war. Like, here's the thing. We've actually been in a civil war in this country like 4 people ago. And this country is just kind of like coming unseamed with all of this stuff that's occurring and all the conversations that have spurned off of this debate. Like, have you heard about this whole HBO Max thing with they took out Gone with the Wind?
Yes, I did see that.
So, where does this end?
I don't know.
Like, at what point do we strip George Washington with the title of founder of this country? At what point do we revoke his presidency, Jefferson's presidency, like 15 or 20 presidencies because they had triple digits worth of slaves, and yet you wrote the Constitution?
Yeah.
I'm asking. Every statue is already up for debate or already down. You know, even in Texas, they took out Robert E. Lee from the park next door years ago.
Yeah.
Yo, have I ever told you the story about walking past that statue?
I don't think so.
After the fact? So, very famously here in Dallas, Oak Lawn, Turtle Creek area, there was a Robert E. Lee Park, and they had a big statue right in front of Arlington Hall, and it's this beautiful kind of esplanade lawn. They have, I think Tony Romo got married there. Like, it was, you know, it's the ideal setting, and there's, you know, Turtle Creek right there. And so very famously, they took out the Robert E. Lee statue and paraded it basically through the streets because they just removed it in one piece from the base. And then they put it on like an 18-wheel, like a flatbed behind a truck, and they strapped it down. And it looked like a parade because the streets were lined to like either pay respects or see the spectacle or just stop and gander, rubberneck, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking in that park probably a good solid 6 months, year later. And I'm walking up to where the statue was, just the granite base was left. And I see this good old boy, and he's in like blue jeans. He's like middle class fancy dad, like New Balances,
right.
Blue jean shorts, like polo. And so I see him approach the base of the statue, and he's got flowers in his hand. And I'm like, where is this guy going? I don't see any girls around here.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I see him clutch the base of the statue, and he kind of he's in solemn reflection, prayer. A moment is happening, and then he leaves the flowers on the base of the statue. So I'm like, all right. So I wait for him to leave. Then I walk over, and I go to look at the flowers, and I wanted to see if there was a note, and there was. And it was like, to all the fallen soldiers, long live the South. Like, it was kind of I was like, oh my goodness, like, what kind of son of the Confederacy did I just wander across? Right. And how many of those are just, you know, in Frisco, in Plano, in Alvarado, in Venus, and, you know, a lot more in Johnson County probably. But, you know, NASCAR officially banned Confederate flags today.
Right.
You know? Something is off kilter. And so that was a really weird experience that like I'll always remember that. However, you know, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have taken that statue down. Cosmetically, I wish they hadn't. Like, you could have told me that it was anybody. I'm like, just replace the sign, you know, like, we don't know who that is. Because it was it looked nice. Now it just looks like there's like a big base of a statue where nothing is. It looks out of place.
Yeah.
So I'm saying from a cosmetic perspective, but slap a Northern Ulysses S. Grant. I could believe it was him. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't meet these guys, you know?
Right.
Just change the labels. These people are stupid. So anyway, but how long until we strip these presidents? Because HBO is stripping their catalog of, you know, Disney Plus had done the disclaimers whenever they launched their streaming service, like antiquated views in Pinocchio or whatever. Right. Now HBO is like, nope, can't watch it. They're going to take Mel Brooks's films out immediately. Like, you know, what are we going to do with the history books?
You know, like you were saying earlier, revisionist history. Like, I think it is important to not have like a complete erasure of a lot of things things that happen. At the same time, I think you can explain and teach and show without celebrating or like propping it up. As far as Gone with the Wind, I watched that movie in 8th grade. I know it's a classic. I don't even remember what, like, obviously it was set back then, but I don't even remember, like, why. Do you know the scene or why it got canceled?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't know if it said the wrong. It was made in a time where you could say the wrong types of words,
Right.
and depict the wrong types of things. I don't know. Personally, I always think that films, art is like a reflection of the time in a certain way, and so it's like I mean, I'm not. I don't think you can gloss over history and just act like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm not saying promote it, and I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think that drowning out certain things leads to the eradication of it. Sometimes I think that leads to a fringe sector.
That's fair.
The whole thing is hard because even as white people, you're not allowed to have any American culture. You know, like if you were raised, I never thought of myself as of English descent, of German descent, of whatever mutt mix European I am. I just thought of myself really as a Texan first. And, you know, American is like, okay, I'm American, but you know, you're a Texan.
No, I'm with you on that.
You know what I mean? Like, and I took strength from that identity. And, you know, were I to ever procreate with a white Texan woman or something like that, I would be, you know, perpetuating that culture. Like, do you see my point? Like that there's no racist undertone with that. It's like, I think people are like, they don't.
I totally agree. And it's okay to be proud of your background. I think they're more, you know, it's like racism has been going on, and there were still even like divisions and separations even after certain laws were passed. And just because those laws were passed doesn't mean like our great grandfathers mindset was changed, or our grandfathers, like, so things have been set in place, but it still feels like to them that that people didn't do it like wholeheartedly. And I don't know. I'm with you as far as like, well, if we have to cancel that, then we're getting rid of like tons of different movies for various different reasons, like not even regarding racism, but like the ways in which women were treated, or you know, I don't know.
Women have only been allowed to vote for 100 years in this country, so this is a ridiculous conversation. Like, I thought the whole thing about ending racism was like looking to the future. How are you treating people right now? Like, at this moment right now, like starting right now, it's a new moment, you know, like everything that happened in the past.
But people are feeling right now racism toward them.
Yeah. That's the biggest issue.
Right.
Racism happening presently,
yeah.
or racist tendencies propped up for the future. Those are the biggest things. Why are we going back to edit a film from like 1906 or something, you know, 1930?
I'm with you on that.
I don't understand that. Well, who does that help?
There are more pressing things at hand.
So we can never watch like a Pharaoh movie again or something. Like Jews were enslaved as well. Like, you know, this is. I'm just a little. I've talked to several white friends like this last week, and sometimes one of them had shared with me, like, I don't know what to even put on Twitter, honestly, because, you know, and I put my, you know, zip it up over your mouth, because it was like, we can't really say any, like,
well,
it's difficult.
For me, the hardest part has been like, I was vocal about it in the beginning, and now I've just chosen to kind of sit back and listen and like just kind of have my own personal growth without, you know, retweeting every single thing that I see, or going on a rant, or, you know, I did my one post on Instagram, and that was more of just like, so my close friends know that I'm with them. I didn't expect it to, you know, help a whole movement or anything like that. For me now, I see people, you know, getting bashed for even wanting to learn. It's like, oh, they're using the wrong hashtag, or or people are saying it's not my job to teach you, like you should learn, like go read a book or something. And I understand that certain people are fed up, especially if you're in the Black community and you've been feeling all this towards you. Maybe it shouldn't be your job to teach every single person around you why things are wrong, and maybe we should have taken note beforehand. Maybe we should read a book. But I will say it is difficult seeing people who are actually trying to grow and learn from it and being turned away. So that's been tough. I don't know. I feel like there was another thing that I was going to say. Also, just like you and I have talked several episodes just about cancel culture, and it's like, well, do you want people to grow and learn, or are they just canceled and they can never come back from their mistakes? Like, I understand if somebody was making mistakes 10 years ago and they're still making those same mistakes today, there hasn't been any growth. But like, you can't, it's not fair to be on the fence about it. Like, if you're going to hate someone, hate on them for, their past, then by all means go for it, but also don't expect them to grow and learn whenever you don't give them the opportunity to. So that's been something that has been on my mind, and I've really been like refraining from, going on a long Twitter rant and stuff like that.
Do it, man. Do it for the gram.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to type out something and make it eloquent, and then also think of ways that people are going to come at me that I can combat it, because that's just how I kind of feel on the subject.
The worst apologies now are the ones that link to Instagram, and it's like their notepad with 10 different screens that you have to slide through.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so your publicist like wrote this out for you. Like, I saw one of them, it was some music artist, maybe like I think it was Justin Bieber, and it's like, you can tell it was like his publicist that like sent the message to him, and it's like he took the screenshot of that text and posted it on Instagram.
He's like, dope, thanks, Sheila.
Like, come on, dude.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of wrong in a lot of areas from a lot of different types of people.
Yeah, but most of it,
and there's a lot of good.
We're all capable of doing good and bad things. Like, it's, are good people bad sometimes, or bad people good sometimes? Like, I think that some of these situations are just exacerbated by just real-time reactions and decisions, and there's not always, I don't think that a great majority of this country actually has any inkling of hatred, especially towards different groups of people simply based on their skin color or, different upbringing or background or whatever. So at the same time, I have not tweeted in support of Black Lives Matter. I do support Black Lives Matter. I've used the hashtag. I've talked about that on the show. I did not do Blackout Tuesday. I've also not tweeted anything about the police or, I haven't stuck up. Like, I showed up. I supported Black Lives Matter. I support your right to peaceful protesting. I showed up to help, clean up the mess of the riots, and I've commented on it in the show. But to do anything else to me would feel disingenuous to who I am and who I know. Here's the litmus test. Like, if your Black friends were to read something that you posted, would they just be like, man, this guy's getting on the train?
I totally agree.
What a follower. I just was like, I can't post this blackout stuff because it just seems so conformist at this point, because I wake up and like every single square is that way. And then some people took the initiative to actually put some text on their Black square and say, actually, we want to take this opportunity to say these things. Some of my Black friends did, and I appreciated that.
Right.
And I appreciated it if you posted a Black square. I didn't really like any of them because I'm just like, I don't know. Sure. I don't like much stuff on Instagram.
Yeah, what's like, are you just doing it because everybody's doing it?
I would look like such a follower sheep. Yeah. Like,
I posted the Black square, but we also did a whole 2 podcast episodes on it, so I didn't feel like I needed to write a whole lengthy thing. I've also, I feel just in my personal life, like, nobody really questioned me posting something like that. I feel like it wasn't like out of the norm or anything. But I totally agree with, like, if you're feeling disingenuous about it, like, you don't need to post it. Just take this time to learn and
is anybody listening to this show that needs to learn? Like, what do they need to learn? Hey, don't hate black people. Don't murder them. Like, what do we need to learn here? This is table stakes information.
I think it's more like not like,
Who do we
oh,
need to
racism's
tell?
bad. I think it's more of, hey, you need to be aware that there are these, even if you feel like you're not full out racist, there's like these microaggressions that go on. Maybe you would just like slightly respond differently to somebody else, and that just continues building. Like, I think it's more of something that we really need to look at like under a microscope rather than just this whole huge, oh, there's tons of racist people.
No, 100%. The micro stuff I totally agree with, because
so that's
a
what
lot of that is just, if you were not raised in a mixed community, like a very mixed community and constant exposure, like people are different, like I the whole, who do you cross the street for? A white man or a black man? Those whole there are many white men that I would cross the street for over the black man, because again, I feel like this is a class issue as well. It's like, well, if the white man is a junkie in boots, a Speedo, and a snorkel mask, and he's coming down from something, and the black man is in a suit and he's walking up to a Mercedes, or I'm using the most egregious examples here, but
so it could be like more classism than racism, or
I think a lot of things are classism.
Sure.
Like,
and I would.
Who would you rather have at your dinner party, Barack or Tiger King? Maybe Tiger King.
Well, yeah, I mean that's not the best example.
To your library, not your party. You're going to invite Barack.
Yeah.
Now if Michelle's coming, she beats Tiger King hands down.
Oh, for sure.
The two of
Michelle's
them.
A hoot.
I think Tiger King, he'd be like, I brought the meth.
Right. Yeah, something's going to go wild. Like, that's a memorable party.
You'll end up married to him as a straight man.
Oh, my goodness.
And 4 teeth.
Yeah, no, I would actually, like, really agree with you as far as the whole classism thing.
Oh, totally. And I think that with the police especially, man, they pull over so many white people with a busted out taillight if they have a bunch of McDonald's bags in the back window sill. And, there's a bunch of ash on the floor, and, they're going to find drugs in 4 different spots on that car. It's a sure bust. And when you give a man a hammer, everything looks like a nail. When you create a position, my position is get deals across the finish line, create frameworks and strategies and repeatable processes baked into software that you can hire against and scale a team to go get annual recurring revenue bookings. Yeah. So it's a game for me. It's cat and mouse. I'm strategizing. I'm plotting every morning, every day, every night on who do I need to send this tidbit of information that's going to, politically, interpersonally tip the scales for everybody to get a win-win here. Yeah. Like it's a whole cat and mouse thing. I'm a blunt force instrument in many ways. And the cops are too. It's like, hey, go find the bad people. Go find the people that are doing bad things and bring them back here. So It's like, all right, I'm going to go find some bad people. Because if I don't bring anybody in that day, do I feel like, well, I guess I protected and served today? Like, I don't feel productive if I didn't close a deal that day.
Right.
So if you're a cop.
The main issue comes whenever it's like, maybe there were no bad people in your area that day. So hopefully you don't try to force it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're in this fraternity of people that hopefully are peaceful, but they're also, the thing that we have to grope with is that they do make last second split minute decisions that often it's a gun being pulled on a cop. Like I've seen many instances of, police are shot at, like, cops die, cops are executed, often in retaliation type tactics and shootouts. And, you take your life into your hands. And, what do you think about this whole, I don't know if I want to think that I don't know everything about this and that I can't surmise everything about this movement just from the title or the hashtag. But if I'm worried. It's the most ludicrous thing I've heard of. Defund the police? What is this?
I think it's more of like, hey, let's get this whole police system. So, like, the system needs to be changed. I think they're wanting to start from the ground floor. Like, this whole thing needs to be remodeled.
Didn't they disband the Minneapolis police force or something like that?
Yeah.
So what?
What? I haven't done a whole lot of
If you're in Minneapolis and you call 911, what happens?
I don't know, man.
They're just like, and I'm proud to be an American. It's just like the recording.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
Yeah. Please hold. Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Just, for the Star Spangled Banner in Espanol, press 2. No one's coming to help you.
I mean, I definitely think a lot more change has occurred due to these protests.
Did you see that girl on CNN that was like, I think it was Camerata, my wife, Allison Camerata. She was asking her, she was like, so with defund the police and like this little movement that you got going on here, she's like, so if your house is being robbed and you're being beaten up or something and you can't call the police, and the woman was like, well, the fact that you think that you can just call somebody is a symbol of your white privilege. And
well,
what?
She went on to say, like, you know, that policeman's probably going to show up an hour late and then shoot me anyway. I think that's like kind of the gist of like the end of that quote.
Well, so she's for disbanding police departments, and she thinks that, so because he's responding to a white person, it's white privilege, but because he's responding to a black person, that woman was white too, by the way.
Oh, then I watched a different interview. Well, I watched a black lady saying like, well, yeah, we're going to defund the police because whenever we call them, they end up shooting the wrong person anyway.
That happens. Breonna Taylor,
right.
You know, she was dating somebody that they were serving a warrant on.
Which really, like, they need to be charged. And in my opinion,
I don't know enough about that one to comment on it.
Yeah.
I do know that civilians and cops are collateral damage the hard part is, like, as Americans, we have the right to bear arms, and you have the right to firearms in your home and all this different stuff. But in the Tatiana Jefferson case out in Fort Worth, where, you know, he's creeping around her house and she has a gun inside the house and he shoots her from the outside of the home, that was one of the most egregious things I've ever seen.
Right.
And I don't feel like they ever had follow up on that like they should. I need to check up on that case. But the point being that those are two different situations. Sure. So this woman was saying that the fact that Allison was saying, well, if I'm being white privilege. And so Donald Trump Jr. had basically he posts the best Instagram memes. Sometimes they're very insensitive, but like never mind, I won't share that one. But he had this one where shoot, what were we just saying?
White privilege.
Oh yeah, it was like, hello, 911. Yes, I'm being raped and beaten and robbed, and it was like, oh well, I can't remember if it was like, did you post a black square on Tuesday, or like, it was like this series of different things, and I don't understand where we're at right now, where, you know, we as Americans, and I think that this, I'd like for this.
They're just calling for like a reformation of the police force.
I also think that undocumented people in this country should have basic access to healthcare and all of these different, they should be able to shop and do whatever they want. But also, you know, for most policing matters, I'm totally cool with, you know, just treat them as citizens and try to drive higher call rates from the undocumented community, and to protect them, because typically they're our neighbors. They live down the street. Yep. They might have, you know, dug your garden or served you food or whatever the case may be. They're a pretty integral part of the society, typically really good people.
Yeah.
So I think that if we could drive more police presence and like rapport, even with the undocumented community as well, that would be a positive thing.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that the right to be able to call 911 and expect that the government would send somebody if your ass is getting beaten somewhere should extend to basically everybody in the borders at the moment, right?
Sure.
Let's go with that. I'm not for disbanding the police. I'm for, you know, tactics and reforms, you know, to be looked at, you know, procedures. And I've already seen like different departments like outlawing chokeholds. And it's funny how like all this stuff gets outlawed like way out. Like they just passed like the anti-lynching bill like a week ago. Like,
right, but that's another reason why people are saying like these protest, like, and I know you're on the side of protests and maybe not the rioting, but some of the rioters are like, this wasn't happening whenever just peaceful protests were going on. Like a lot of these laws were not being passed.
And I almost want to abstain from even going with your comment. Like you're on the side of like, I support your right to peaceful protests. I support the police showing up if I call them as a civil servant that we pay. My tax dollars go to that. I appreciate what they do most of the time.
Yeah.
I think that there are definitely some short man syndrome going on when you strap a gun on and you have power over other people.
Yeah.
That's I really do think that only the elite should have guns and like, really, let's get walkie-talkies and bobby sticks out there, baby. Beat the pavement, monitor, call in the big boys who actually know how to use that piece. But if you're 4 days on the job and you don't know enough to know that this man is asphyxiating himself on the pavement, why do you have a gun?
Right.
Why do you have all this stuff?
Yeah.
Why are we sending police forces out to peaceful protests? I support your right to peaceful protests. I support your right to police. Don't murder people. Like, don't be racist. Microaggressions and these things exist. It's got to be overwhelming at the moment. If you're black, I don't think you can, I guess you can't say it's overwhelming if you're white too, because just the backlash against, especially us, like we are straight white men. And it's weird. Like I'll be honest with the audience that sometimes when I talk to my straight white male friends, we really feel like we have to just like go out to the golf course or on a camping trip to kind of like, push each other around and just, goof on each other, like not do anything racist or terrible, but just be guys together and just be ourselves. Like, I feel like many level-headed white people do not feel as though they have the social capital to comment on much of anything online at the moment. And that their peers that comment too favorably in support of anything, it's almost like, oh, what's going on here?
Right.
Yeah. And which is like, I don't want people to be able to call that into question about me.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I know that I have a lot of black friends that will not cancel me or hate on me if I say something wrong, that they will take the time to educate me. And I wish that for anyone, because I think it's important that, we're able to talk about stuff and maybe some of our insecurities or our thoughts and different things like that. And even though it may differ from somebody else, especially a person of color, whether it's black or any other type of race, I think we should be able to be open, because you can't really learn and gain other people's perspectives without having a back and forth discussion. I think a lot of people lack that. I think maybe they either just have friends from one race, or they don't care to, talk to other people or find out, or they are just scared. But man, it would be awesome if people could just, talk about it more without the fear of being canceled, and that like, hey, we may still not agree on this thing, but I still agree that, bad things are happening to you, and, I want to support you, but I may land differently where you do on police or certain laws, or the riots or different things like that,
Yeah, no, 100%. We should be able to like debate this, discuss this, and, without fear of, I don't know, it's difficult because some people splice and dice audio and ruin you. And I know that there's things that we've said that if they isolated it on a show, I could be ruined forever, but we're not that big of a platform yet. So that's almost something that makes you not want to be that big. Because
I mean, even on a smaller scale, that's why I'm like, how much are we going to talk about SWOT in my master's classes? Totally different and less important subject, but just the fact that, somebody from there can hear it and be offended, and,
I hope they are. I hope they get better. I hope they get better at what they say they do for a job.
And that's fair.
Innovate.
All I'm saying is,
man, these educators that are just like, well, we're going to teach the same. I've been teaching this book for 52 years. I'll tell you, Macbeth has never changed, and neither have I. Okay? And they're like, well, I'm going to teach the same antiquated stuff via Zoom now because I'm innovative. No, you're not, Shirley. Like, innovate. Be like young B-Rad here. Go on technology trip. Right. You're baking AI and, virtual reality.
VR
and,
going.
Yeah, you're doing all this stuff in the classroom. You're the future. Whatever, man.
Anyway, I didn't mean to get back on that, but yeah, I mean, just it just goes back to my statement that people should be allowed to learn and grow. Obviously, there are exceptions, but I think the overall, as long as somebody is trying to learn and grow and educate themselves, and they are a good-natured person, and they haven't done like an irredeemable act,
right,
then you gotta allow that space.
I wish that we had like you know how they had the COVID deaths and cases and all of this, like, oh, it's 106 now,
Right?
it's 6,000. We need to have the same ticker mark for racist cases versus, hey, I went out with a mixed crew of friends and guess what? Nothing happened. Like,
Yeah.
we had a nice night out. Like, the fact that she's Asian, he's black, I'm white, and they're gay, trans, whatever is going on over there, didn't come up because we already knew each other that well.
Yeah.
Like, this many days since an accident, where a lot of racism that occurs today, or perceived racism, I'll say, not overt racism, but perceived racism, totally due to lack of education, exposure, a lot of different things. There's often certain things that could be perceived, as racist, could be racist, but they're often just ignorant more than anything. It's you're not, if you've not been able to travel and encounter, other white people that seem way more foreign than any black person you've ever seen because they're speaking a different language or even the same language differently. Like, there's a lot of different pockets of us. And I think that we're so niched in terms of the media we consume and the communities and groups that we support that I'm just so sick of, like, I feel like we're playing this political, ideological skin trans game. It's like Rachel Dolezal mixed with the trans movement all at once. Everyone's coming down on this black girl named Candace Owens, who is a total Trump apologist, conservative. Right. They're calling her like an Aunt Tom type person. And it's like, okay, we are ideologically grouped together as well. There are many black people that I align with politically much closer than white people, right? So why can she not have a viewpoint and be black and people not call her a traitor? Like, what is all of that going on? And I'm not advocating for any of her viewpoints by any means. I'm saying, why can't a young black woman be into what she's into?
I think I don't pay much attention to her just because some of the things that I've seen her tweet seemed outlandish. So I just kind of pay her no mind. But I think it's due to the lack of, like, her even attempting to hear the other side. So, she is a Trump apologist, but, like, it goes back to it needing to be a two-sided conversation, not a one-sided. And so she just gets on her platform, says all this stuff, and, like, doubles down on it.
She's sensational. Like, they have to be, like, Hillary Galsujo from the podcast a while back. She had tweeted, like, what is it about Candace Owens that looked at Tommy Lauren and said, I can do this brand? Like,
right.
And, I'm sure that Hillary despises both of those characters. And I think that those two young women are just hustlers. I think they're just entrepreneurs, and they found a thought vein that, and I think that there are black spokespeople for the far right or for, conservative outlets that it's an advantage.
And there's no way that they're ignorant to the fact of that.
No, 100%.
And so whenever you're like, oh, why do they receive all this backlash? Like, they know why they're receiving that backlash, and it's because they are doubling down on it for the audience that they're pandering to.
I've always told, and this might be wrong, but I've always told, like, my female, like, female friends that are aspiring or that are really, ambitious, that are hardworking. Like, I'm like, hey, keep this up because everybody wants to promote you, like everybody wants you on the board. You have get to the top if that's what you're trying to do, because when you find capable people, no matter what they look like, when they happen to fulfill a diversity quota as well, it's become like formulaic, manipulative. Like, you can almost joke about this in some of the HR spaces, it feels like, because it's like, oh, we just found this amazing developer. She knows blah, 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 the exact language. She has experience doing this. She did it for our biggest competitor, and she's Asian.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And that was one of the points that even Candace Owens was tweeting about a while back. Like, she was saying, hey, if we're trying to hate on the people that are at the top of the heap, why aren't we hating on Asian Americans? Because they outrank whites in every category, which is something low key I've always been like, why? I love how, you know, they're just, oh, Amber Alert.
Amber Alert.
I've been getting a lot of these, man. Dodge Neon Sedan, Mathis, Texas. All of you listeners in Mathis. I've never heard
we're
of
going
these
to pause
places.
this podcast and go hunt this guy down?
Yeah. No, we're not.
Okay.
Never mind.
Never mind.
Amber Alert. You remember Amber? I think I was
Amber. No,
5 when that happened. 5 or 8.
Yeah.
When the first girl ever got kidnapped, and they named an alert after her. Nobody had ever been kidnapped up until that point. Can you believe that?
You're an idiot.
I'm just saying. No stepfather had ever taken his child under the guise of night to Canada to be turned away at the border. I think most kids are stolen away from like split arrangements, or it's usually a parent or somebody like that. Did you hear about Live PD?
Nope.
So I haven't read all into this, but there was maybe an unarmed black man in Austin that was killed or shot, and it was on Live PD. And I think they like got rid of some of the footage or didn't divulge all of it, or I'm worried that Live PD is going to get canceled. I saw that Cops got canceled this week.
Yeah.
It's not going to be on after like 20 years or something. Which in the moment, just with my scroll, it was like Black Lives Matter, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Samuel L. Jackson, Cops canceled. And it was, I just burst out laughing. I was like, of course. Yeah. So I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen, but I think that Live PD has actually done a lot of, I think Live PD is fascinating, and it's actually shown me a lot about the good cops, you know, like there's a lot of people that, plus they walk into all of these situations with no information whatsoever.
Yeah.
Anywho,
you
ready to stop talking about cops and robbers? And
sure, man. What else you got?
I don't know. Did I mention I'm a pastor?
Yeah, you did.
Will you turn with me in the text to 2 Galatians?
2, yeah, okay. 2 Corinths.
2 Corinths. Let me look at my list here. My mother celebrated her 21st birthday. She's in the mountains. I was going to call her to get dinner on the books, and she's like, oh, we're going to the mountains. And they invited me to go, but they've been in Red River.
Yeah, I saw some
place.
Instagram pics, and they look lovely as ever.
Yeah.
Hope you had a great birthday, Mama Gibbons. I messaged her, so I already wished her one, but just for the sake of the pod, we hope you had a wonderful day.
Yeah, I was glad to see that Grizz got her shout out on last week's episode.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been good to see friends still listen to us for whatever reason.
Yeah, dude. I saw Buffin' Abroad this past weekend.
Wait, how?
He flew into town to visit his parents real quick, and we met up, and I got to say hey, and just kind of caught up for a little bit, and he kind of let me know how working over in the medical field over there has been going. And because if you recall, I had gone and driven to him as the whole COVID thing like first broke out.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of just catching up about the aftermath of it all after I had driven from his place to get back home. So it was fun. It was good seeing him.
Remember that? It was like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I posted this tweet this week, and it was like, and all these calls I'm on, people talk about year over year, quarterly goals, and people are just saying, oh, you remember back in like March? Like, and it's like, oh, I think so.
Yeah, there is this like
longest
weird time between like post Kobe and
goodness,
pre-COVID.
Goodness gracious. Do you remember when Kobe was the worst thing in the world?
Dude. Australian fires.
Man,
that's how we started the year.
And so go back to a continent burning rather than our continent burning. Ours is on fire.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of broken windows and hurt feelings and shattered lives and people that feel like they can't weigh in or comment.
Yeah, man. At least in Australia, everyone was unified, and it was like a natural disaster.
It's just like, save the koalas.
Truly.
We need more hoses. R.I.P. Steve Irwin.
Okay. All right.
I saw people posting this week, like, the thing that has been interesting about this Black Lives Matter, this peaceful protest, is that the corporations getting into the fray. And like, I had the most obscure API companies of all time this week. Like, here at blah blah blah, we're committed to X, Y, and Z. And
yeah, man, I saw Whataburger post today.
I saw so many corporations, and then I saw other people saying, like, yeah, pulled up your board of directors. What's up, William? What's up, Chet? What's up, Joe? Howard and Patrick and
Wyatt.
Tanner, Wyatt, Scott, Rick. And so in big news, you see Alexia Shanahan step down the board of Reddit.
That one passed by me. I did not see that.
Yeah, so Reddit, you're familiar with the brand.
Yes.
That's a YC company, actually.
Okay.
So I've been in the same room as him. Like, he actually, well, never mind.
Got it.
But he walked into YC demo day with Joe Montana.
Oh, wow.
Which was crazy. But he's one of the most notorious YC founders because he ended up founding a company whose valuation is in excess of $3 or $5 billion last time I checked, and has been formative in this, culture, internet culture, and this generation of people.
Yeah.
And so he's married to Serena Williams.
Okay.
They have a child together.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And he was in an ad with her recently, actually. And he's got a lot of investments. He's a partner at Initialized Capital with Gary Tan. And I set this up nicely. This is going to go into my next story too.
There we go.
So anyway, cool guy. And he ended up making a public statement like, hey, it's great that we're doing Blackout Tuesday and that we're doing all this stuff, but we need to have better equal representation with, major cap companies and all this stuff. I'm stepping down from the board of Reddit. And he made way for other voices to come in. And congrats to actually my YC CEO at the time, Michael Seibel, the guy who I had dinner with Michael, and he proctored pretty much everything I did at YC all of winter 19. So January through April of last year. He's now on the board of Reddit.
Legit.
So Michael and his co-founders, way back in the day, they founded Justin TV, which is now Twitch, and sold to Amazon. So he's a really awesome guy. I have a picture with him at the bar the last night that we were all in Mountain View together. And it was just like the last 3 days of that batch, where everybody just let their hair down. They were so excited and just thrilled to be done with it.
Yeah.
And nobody had been partying up until that point, really. So it was just a great, memorable experience. But shout out to him because he's the new board member over at Reddit. And
Very
shout
cool.
out to Alexi for taking a stand like that. Like, I really do think that true equality will not come about until more economic equality is had.
Sure.
It's through empowerment comes with, money. And so the fewer losers in any country that you can create, as Joe Rogan would say, the better off you're going to be as a whole. And we should all lift each other up. But I thought that was an interesting thing. So I mentioned him and Gary Tan with Initialized Capital. They're an early stage seed fund that writes checks for, different amounts. I think they like to invest in YC companies like early stage and do their seed rounds. And they had led a crowd fundraising effort for Hacker Noon, which is an investment that I have actually. Hacker Noon was a great client of mine back at my old startup, and had a personal relationship with the editor-in-chief and founder team, husband and wife, and their initial team. We spent time with them out in San Francisco. Shout out to David and Lynn. They're truly incredible people. Just really awesome what they're doing for readers and writers on the internet. I was a big author in their publication for many months. Nice. I think that they garnered me somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 figures in reads. Which is really crazy when people spend time with your content like that. But they actually, Initialized Capital, Alexi, they led the largest investment in that crowdfunding raise with, I think it was, a 6-figure investment. I put in a little bit because I had access to it. So it was funny whenever they sent out their email blast to the whole community, which was millions. I was one of the first investors listed like right underneath Alexi.
Dang.
And all. So I took a screenshot of that because I'm like, this will never happen again.
Yeah.
It was just a token fluke that I was kind of up there because I didn't share the same investment check amount. But anyway, Hacker Noon today announced that they raised $1 million in an up round. So they sold some shares that they sold at a higher premium than our round, and it represents a whole new situation for the company, a whole new journey and future. And so I had quote tweeted them today, just shouting out the founders, and Lynn had actually retweeted it. So shout out to them because they're just the nicest people. They live in Colorado, and then they'll go stay in San Francisco for a month or two with the core team. Then they'll go back to Colorado, and they're just amazing people. So it's my first investment that has gone on to further subsequent investment raises. So that's really exciting.
Congrats.
Yeah. So that was a connection that I had to Alexi.
Got it.
That's the only connection.
Right. Well,
otherwise he doesn't call.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
What else you got, man?
It's kind of all I have. It was enjoyable talking with longtime listener Heston Williams this week, along with John Seals and you.
Yeah.
Us all being in the same little talking space.
Yeah. Yeah. So I demoed a new product that my startup, my company has launched. We have our recognition platform, and we have a new way to socialize virtually online that very much mimics real life and allows for multiple conversations to occur in the same general meeting space with music pumped in and all sorts of really awesome kind of features and really just building togetherness technology and trying to initiate and create and strengthen deeper relationships between groups, workplace, family, friends. And so I invited a bunch of buddies, shout out Jeff Dunn, Scott Cross, B-Rad, John, Michael Denny, everybody that made it.
Yeah.
Was that everybody? I feel like I just left somebody. Heston Williams.
Right.
We all had a great little reunion on this new tool. So if you're in the space or your team is working remotely, definitely give me a call.
Yeah,
because we've got some new togetherness technology that's patent pending, and I'm not gonna lie,
it was awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, to downplay it, it was really awesome.
But it was good to see all of them too, because it's better than a Zoom call because you kind of mill around and interact and
you can go. Yeah. Well,
but I hadn't.
You guys need to check it out to.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
We're not.
I feel like I'm just partying with people at work all day now.
Yeah.
Like I've just got like the Beats background on and like the celebration background, and I'm just like, yeah, welcome to the party. And honestly, I get to watch people kind of crap their pants all day because I just see people come in and then they zoom around and they're like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This little girl this week, she like was just going left and right, and we heard her like as she was fading in and out, and she just goes, she was like, this is just like real life. It was so funny.
That's cool.
But no, it's been an honor to be on that team. We've been in a serious grind mode, but I think it's paying off, and I've never felt people snatch a product out of my hand like this in my entire sales career. Selling products and services.
Mm-hmm.
So that's dope.
Yeah.
I think everybody wants to be in that situation. So I'm thankful for a team and visionary and just scenario that led to fire product getting put on my desk that, I get to watch people react. Like I'm so spoiled, I'm not a knowledge expert. I don't create stuff. Like I get to liaise it, and I don't know, sometimes we get out of team meetings and I go back into my pod and, realize like, man, my job is like just perfect for me in so many ways, like for my personality type. And I've always enjoyed being able to go back to I've always been the layer of account service, new business strategy that's between a client and a creative team of sorts, whether it's, conceptual creatives, designers and developers, infrastructure people, and to be able to be that glue in between on an early stage team is like the privilege of a lifetime, man.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. I'm really happy for you, and I'm excited to see this aspect of Appreciate. I'm excited to see the success of it, because I definitely think you guys got something good.
Well, we got a good mission, we got good leadership, and I don't think you're going to go wrong trying to build stronger relationships as a public benefit corporation.
Yeah.
And, just a lot of respect for my colleagues and what we're doing over there, and lucky to be a part of it. And it's just, I think that's a big inspiration piece for the other leveling up items that I'm doing in my life, and trying to look at sleep, look at health. Like, dude, I cooked my own dinner last night.
Get out.
Like, I went to the grocery store and I got meat and potatoes and eggs, and like I watched a bunch of YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm. That's nice.
And then I made myself dinner.
Hey, pound it
at home.
Well done.
Like meat, starch, protein, eggs, like
sustenance.
I literally, and I was like, this stuff is so easy. Like, I'm like, I kind of felt, I was like, why have I been paying like this much for dinner when I can just go and get it for like $5 at the grocery store?
The convenience of it.
And there was just an empowerment level to it. Like, I think I'm going to be a little bit more carnivore-ish. Like, I'm really higher protein, eliminate carbs, get some veggies in there. But I have my 20 gram protein builder bar at 2. And then I'll try to get meat, potatoes, maybe an egg for dinner with water, and turn the lights out an hour before bed, try to digest, and woke up this morning, like, I feel like I've shed that quarantine belly a little bit. Like, my chin has come back some. I sweated, like, I almost died on the golf course this weekend because I ended up teeing off. I called over there. I was like, hey, you got any spots for a single today? And they go, hey, Carson. I was like, hey, man. And he's like, yeah, I got you at 12:12. And I'm like, great. So I show up, and like an idiot, I'm feeling a little breeze as I'm walking up to the clubhouse. I'm like, I'll walk. So I asked for a push cart, and I golfed from 12:12 to 4:12 in 98-degree heat with a 106 heat index, and burned the crap out of myself, sweat a gallon. But then I woke up the next day and like stomach was gone. So
sweat it all out, baby.
I'm going back for more this weekend, but I'm doing it. Shout out to my buddy Scott. He's the one that I normally golf my money games with, but he tore his rotator cuff going after a Pro V1 in a creek the other day.
Yeah.
So he ended up gifting me some passes. He gave me some all-inclusive passes to Cowboys Golf Club.
Wow.
Nice golf course. And it's all you can eat, and you get to golf. So you get like GPS cart, 18 holes. You get unlimited snacks and non-alcoholic beverages from the beer cart girl. And you get to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner in the clubhouse. Totally comp. So he sends these to me. They've got an expiration date of Monday. Ooh. So Sunday at 2, my buddy David Richardson and I are going to go out. He's played this course before, and he just keeps telling me, he's like, beside the Broadmoor, like, you've never played a course like this nice.
Very cool.
So we're going to do a little bit of match play out there, catch up with him. I haven't gotten to see him since the last time we played golf.
Yeah.
As it goes.
I'll be looking forward to hearing how that goes.
I know you don't care.
If you end up losing.
I mean, that's what typically happens. Like David is probably more naturally athletically gifted than me. He played tennis in college.
Yeah. And I'll say I care more about like hearing your personal stories than I do like the actual sport itself. So yeah, I do enjoy your stories.
The mantras and what the sport can teach you is so applicable to life and to being well-rounded in your approach to whatever you're trying to be the best in the world at.
Sure.
I don't think that I'm in a relatable point in my life for some people, maybe. Like, I think I'm too intense, and significance is driving me. And we just launched brand new technology. Like, I'm a early stage employee. Like, I harness all of that. Like, I need that. I need to drink Kool-Aid. I need to be about something, and whatever I'm doing in my life at that moment is like kind of the first thing in my life. Like, I've never been good about throttling that back or being circumspect about something, or, investing for the long future. Like I'm like, let's hit home runs today with
Right.
what we got going on.
That's
So
fair.
golf is very much a game of patience, and it's not the biggest, brawniest guy on the course that has the biggest swing that can even hit it the farthest sometimes. There's a lot of different factors that happen, and I just enjoy the physical exercise element. And really, without going camping, there's no other way that you can kind of dip into nature. Like I love being in manicured nature for 4 hours, where you get off the highway, you get off the road, you just hear the birds chirping. It's quiet. Going for your approach shot, like it's very tranquil and calming, but also a good challenge that when you diversify your challenges, I think that you become better in each if you're still honed. If you limit it to a couple, that maybe there's one that challenges you physically, and mainly physically and some mentally, and then work is more mental, and but you got to keep your body up for your brain to be in good condition.
Very true.
That's one thing that some people have griped about with all this COVID stuff, is like it's just social distance and stay away. And meanwhile, they don't talk about quit eating McDonald's or starched, whatever, or sugars or refined sugars or gluten. Don't worry about your sleep. Don't worry about your anxiety and personal relationships. Like all of this leads to our health.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Welcome to the Pastor Carson and Sidekick show.
That's right.
Definitely. So you got nothing else, man?
Courtney and I started watching Nip Tuck.
Dude, I love
I
Nip
know you do.
Tuck.
I told her you would freak out.
Oh my goodness.
Just when you thought I was out, I come back in.
So you know about the MVP of all time. Who is Kimber?
Oh,
Kimber is the MVP of all time.
Yeah.
If you are a beautiful girl today, that's great for you. You're not as beautiful as Kimber. Okay, you're not. Objectively, no man would say so. Kimber is the MVP. Like, there's never been a more perfect woman than Kimber.
Yes. So we watched the first episode yesterday, and she's hooked, so she'll continue watching it.
Oh, I watched all 7 or 8.
I know.
Like, the darker it
You were watching it whenever we first became friends.
No way.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, the show was still going on whenever we just became friends.
We were like watching Nip Tuck and Entourage.
Yeah.
Those are the days, man. Those viewpoints were so antiquated, though. Like, I watched movies. I watched a couple chick flicks over the weekend, because as one does.
Sure.
I watched, so I actually watched Clueless.
Okay.
And
Paul Rudd.
It was a great movie. And I feel like I've seen it a billion years ago, maybe not. Like, it was very much new to me. And I was like, man, you could not get away with half this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And that was just 20 years ago.
Right. They were clueless.
Yeah. All right. Well,
stay woke.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. I guess the Stacey Dash in that movie is now a Trump supporter and everyone hates her. The main actress, who I thought, first of all, I was like, well, these children are so sexualized. I'm like, why are these kids like hot and 25? Like every one of these movies, they're like doing
like
blow and having sex in high school.
30-year-olds playing 18-year-olds. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, I'm like, what high school had all these high heels going on and like mini skirts and like lingerie? This is crazy.
Certainly not Burton Adventist Academy, I'll tell you that.
You're like, all right, heels required for Zoom, everybody. No, I didn't. I guess that I meant at the collegiate level that you're now at, Brad. Jeez.
Not as a teacher.
No, that was the whole point, though. And the fact that I don't remember if it was in Clueless or was it Mean Girls that I was watching a bunch of shit, a bunch of stuff. Dang it! All right,
I bring up Nip Tuck and you lose your mind.
I did, because you got me thinking about Kimber.
It's okay. It's okay.
Dang it!
So you were watching?
Sorry, tots and bots. We're gonna leave that. You want to try that?
I'm not gonna go back and bleep that out.
All right, buddy. The whole point is that, I think it was in one of those movies they showed a teacher and student hooking up and didn't rectify that for like another 40 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I watching right now?
Right.
So times change for sure.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, we finally got K-Bebe her explicit sponsorship.
Yeah, there you go. You finally earned it.
Got any shout outs?
Yeah. I got well, first of all, Brock buffing abroad. It was great seeing you, man. Want to shout out again Gary for last week.
That was impactful, man. After
yeah.
that conversation, that song is beautiful. It was great to hear from Gary.
Yeah, for sure. Want to shout out, I know that my old roommate Cam has also been listening, so I appreciate that. Just, general shout out. Gerald, Alec. And then I just want to shout out my girlfriend Courtney, because she's amazing, awesome. Just loving life with her, man. So
right on.
I don't even think she'll hear this, but just, had to put it out in the universe.
I'm going to shout out just all the typical suspects and listeners and
and then
appreciate all y'all.
I do also want to say again, it was great talking with you, Heston, and John Seals and all that. So yeah, man.
I'm going to shout out your daddy.
Oh boy, he got another joke for us.
Yeah, so he actually shared one with me last week when you were on the way over, and topic was so heavy that we never got to it. I never even thought about it, but I messaged him back and I was like, you know what? This one's so good. I'm going to save it. I'm going to harvest this one.
Okay.
It's a real solid Yo Mama. All right?
Okay, hit me.
Yo Mama's so stupid, she thought a quarterback was a refund.
Dumb.
That was liaised by Dean Colvin, June 3rd at 3:43 p.m. via LinkedIn.
Shout out, Dad.
The place for professional networking and your mama jokes.
Yeah. I do have a song that we'll be sharing at the end of this episode from one of my my old roommate Garrett Owen. And
do I know this guy?
No, you've never met him, but he did not record a voice memo for this episode, but he does want to come on the show in August because he's going to be releasing his new album, and he'd like to also provide a song from that album. But this is from his 2016 album. And he's just a really talented artist.
Roommate where?
In Dallas. My first year of teaching in Dallas, we met. So I had two roommates in Dallas, and I met Garrett through my other roommate Chris, because we used to go to this coffee shop called Opening Bell in Dallas. And on Wednesdays they'd have open mic night, and so I used to go and like kind of sing and do like spoken word poetry every once in a while, and my roommate would sing, and that's how he met Garrett, who also performed there. And a lot of really talented artists have come out of just those open mic nights at Opening Bell. I know at least two other artists that have been on The Voice that I've met at Opening Bell, and I don't know, thinking about it, I need to start going back, because that was a lot of fun. I haven't been in a few years, but anyway, Garrett became our roommate, and I just remember him being out in kind of our little corridor hallway where it would echo a little bit, and he was getting his acoustics, and just, hearing him write his lyrics, and he was just, he really got into the science of music. Like, he was always reading these books about music theory and different things like that, and he's just like, he was a really cool, really talented guy, so I'm really excited to be able to share one of his songs.
Right on. Well, thanks for, as always, creative directing the show, and ultimate talent recruiter and curator.
I don't know if we'll have anyone next week, but that's all right.
Well, the June summer concert series has already been lovely, because I really enjoyed Gary's song last week. So
I appreciate it, man.
Do you want to just intro the play us out then? We'll catch you tots up next week. That's it for Carson.
We'll catch y'all up next week. Without further ado, here is Garrett Owen with Good Luck, Good Night.
Turning my lights off, sitting down in the dark, burning my brain down, but I'm not sure where to start. You know I'd rather be lost than ever be found, wanting, needing, and bleeding, so I'm headed underground. Don't much need a place in the light, I haven't earned the right. So good luck, good night. Good luck, my fight. you post oak trees, you could learn to be alone like me. Goodbye, North Texas wind, all you ever done is chill my bones. I'd rather be lost in the eye or tossed out on the sea. Wanting, needing, and bleeding, praying for the dogs of peace. I want it back, my place in the light.